Shocking, my son thought I couldn't come back from overseas, but I surprised him with this. The day was almost electric, charged with an eerie anticipation that hung in the air like the calm before a storm. Sam, my 13-year-old son, thought he'd lost me forever. The army had taken me across the globe, to war zones and chaos, where every moment felt like a gamble with mortality. I could still see the hunched figure of my little boy, staring at the door every time it creaked, a hope flickering in his eyes, yet always dimmed by familiar despair. His face would flush with the heat of a moment that never came, and I could feel the weight of urgency in my chest. I had to get back to him to make him believe again. It had all started when the news blared with the sound of impending doom. An accident. A malfunctioned helicopter. My heart raced as I grasped the edges of the news article. The headline scrawled, "Lost at War," and I could have sworn my world was crumbling. But I held on to hope. I imagined sneaking back into our small, weather-beaten house in the middle of the night, just to see his reaction, just to witness that fragile glimmer of joy burst forth from the ashes of his lost belief. As the weeks turned into an eternal loop of sleepless nights and relentless training, time felt more like an enemy. There were whispers among friends and fellow soldiers, everyone thought I was a ghost. But I wasn't ready to let that story stop there. The secret plan brewed in my mind like a silent storm. I would come back at the stroke of midnight, slip into solitude, and then suddenly appear behind him, wielding the surprise of a lifetime. Just as I thought about the moment dawning, the shadows of worry crept back. What if it didn't go as planned? What if he could barely recognize me? The knot in my stomach tightened. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Without knowing it, the clock had ticked past the hour. The night was nearly silent, save for the distant rustling of leaves outside, like nature was holding its breath. I approached the house and stood still, the November chill biting through my uniform. I adjusted my cap, fighting back every worry, each thought a rolling wave crashing against the rocks of my resolve. I could see the faint light flickering inside, the glow of his late-night snack, the telltale sign of his unwavering determination to wait up for me. In that breathless moment, I pushed the door open, barely making a sound, only to find Sam in his room, back turned. Would he sense my presence like I had always hoped? Every second felt like an eternity as I stepped closer. And then, out of nowhere, a creak in the floorboard behind me made me freeze mid-step. My heart thundered. What was lurking in the shadows? Did someone know? Did something not want me to share this moment? The air thickened, and a layer of dread washed over me, making my pulse race faster. Someone was definitely in the house. I stood there, ready to turn around. Would it be Sam? Or something more terrifying, lurking just out of sight? As I turned slowly, dread coiling tighter around me, I faced the darkness behind me. The old floor creaked again, echoing in the silence like a whisper of danger. My eyes strained to catch any sign of movement. Hello? I found my own voice shaky and uncertain, the word escaping my lips like a warning. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, hunted almost. My heart pounded, the rhythm matching the distant ticking of the clock. Each thud was a reminder that Sam was just a few feet away, and I needed to protect him. The shadows danced in the dim light, stretching toward me. What if it wasn't just the joy of reunion lurking in that darkness? What if it was something far more sinister? What if something was indeed waiting to pounce? I inhaled deeply and prepared to reassess my options. But then, a small gasping voice broke through the suffocating silence. Dad? My chest tightened. The warmth I had longed for, that hope, clashed violently with a chill that ran down my spine. Sam, it's me. I choked out, almost sobbing, the moment I dreamt of slipping through my fingers. He spun around, relief washing over his face, but that relief was short-lived. His expression morphed into one of confusion, then horror. No. Get back. He threw himself against the wall, terror glaring in his eyes. What? Panic seized me, and I took a shaky step toward him, stretching my hand out. The look in Sam's gaze shifted from disbelief to something darker, something that twisted my gut. No. Behind you. He screamed. Before I could grasp what he meant, instincts kicked in. I turned again, eyes wide, heart racing. The room felt increasingly claustrophobic, shadows pooling, rippling as if alive. In the corner, something blinked back at me. A shape, indistinct and ghostly against the fading light, moved. I staggered, fear coiling in my throat, dragging me back from what I feared was imminent danger. It flickered. Was it a trick of my eyes or something more? I could barely blink, my thoughts spinning unbidden. Sam, stay back. But Sam was already bolting from the room as the mystery silhouette stepped into a ray of soft moonlight, revealing a figure with haunted eyes and a face twisted in a haunting grin. It couldn't be Sam. I yelled, leaping toward him but halting as the figure raised a finger to its lips in a gesture of silence. The world shrank around me, consuming both laughter and screams until all that remained was the pounding of my heart and the weight of imminent dread. I've been waiting for you, soldier, the figure hissed, voice chillingly familiar, as the air thickened with promises of ash and ruin. My breath seized, and all the air fled my lungs. Who was this someone who shouldn't be here? In the turmoil, I felt every heartbeat thrum in my ears, the words that wouldn't come stuck in my throat like broken pieces of hope. And just like that, the shadows shifted, and the door slammed shut behind me. Who were these intruders in my place of joy? And what did they want? I had come back for my son, but now it felt like I was walking right into a nightmare. What were they hiding? What had I stumbled into? The figure lingered under the moonlight, its eyes fixated on me as a predatory smile stretched across its face. Confusion spiraled into dread. I felt the walls close in, the air thick and suffocating. Who are you? I barely managed, my voice a weak whisper. Who I am isn't important, it said, tilting its head as if savoring my fear. What matters is who you have become. The chill in its voice settled deep in my chest. I glanced around for Sam, desperate to find him, and tried to shake the growing sense of panic. Leave him out of this. I managed to shout, my heart racing with the need to protect my son. The shadow shifted, moving closer as if it thrived on my fear. Oh, but he is essential. You see, this reunion was always meant to happen. You have something I want, and it's locked up tight, isn't it? My stomach twisted. What do you mean? With a slow, mocking smile, the figure leaned closer, its breath cold against my cheek. Your past, soldier. It follows you like a shadow. You couldn't escape it overseas, and you certainly can't escape it now. You'll pay for the choices you made. Memories surged, dark and unwelcome. Choices I had buried, things I'd thought left behind. This wasn't just an intruder. It was a reminder of everything I'd tried to forget. My fists balled at my sides, the sting of frustration and fear intertwining. Finally gathering my courage, I took a step forward. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. I've changed. I'm here for my son. If you want me, come at me, but leave him alone. That grin widened, revealing teeth too sharp and too hungry. But the game isn't about fighting. It's about trust you've lost and trust one can take from you. You'll see soon enough, soldier. The dark figure moved back into the shadows, dissipating like smoke. I fumbled, turning to follow, only to feel the door behind me push open slightly. A rush of cold air filled the space, and I instinctively looked back to the wall where Sam had vanished. Sam! Nothing but silence answered. My heart stuttered. Had he left? The weight of dread returned, pressing down harder than before. I staggered toward the doorway, desperate. Creaking floorboards echoed my approach, unease clawing at my heart. I stepped into the hallway, scanning for any sign of my son. "Sam, it's okay. I'm right here." An icy laugh echoed down the corridor, chilling me to my core. Footsteps followed, soft at first, then growing louder. They were deliberate, purposeful, suggesting a cruel game was just beginning. I peeked back into the room we'd been in, half expecting the figure to charge at me. But it was empty. One thought stuck: I couldn't let this thing take Sam. I had to move. Turning sharply, I dashed down the hallway but stopped short at a sudden noise behind me, a soft whimper. "Dad?" Sam's voice, all thick with fear, sliced through the tension. I clutched the wall to steady myself and pivoted, seeking the source of that desperate call. "Sam!" I called, panic rising, battling my instincts over the terror closing in around me. The air thickened with an electric tension, the shadows swirling again. "Dad, help!" The panic in his voice sent me racing forward, but as I reached the corner, the hallway split into 3 passageways. "Which way?" A flicker of a shadow caught my eye, slipping through one passage. Without thinking, I plunged into the darkness, chasing what I feared might be too late. "Sam!" I yelled again, my voice breaking, reverberating off the walls as I sprinted deeper into the unknown, but the laughter grew louder. The shadowy figure reared back in my mind, gloating like it knew my every move. I could feel it watching, taunting me. What awaited me in the darkness? What had I unleashed? As I rounded a corner, a door stood ajar, a soft light spilling into the corridor. My heart raced. What lay behind it? Then I heard a scream, not Sam's, something far worse. And I knew, whatever game was being played, I was fully trapped in it now. I took a deep breath and stepped through the door, ready for whatever awaited me. What had I truly come back to, a nightmare far from over? The door creaked open slowly, the light spilling around me like a fragile promise. I stepped inside, desperate to find a source of comfort, but the moment I crossed the threshold, a feeling of dread washed over me like a cold tide. The room was dim, sparsely furnished. An old, dusty bed stood against one wall, its sheets thrown back as if someone had just risen from sleep. In the center of the room, a small, flickering lamp illuminated a figure slumped against the wall, head bowed. My heart raced, throbbing painfully against my ribs. "Sam?" The figure lifted its head, and a wave of relief washed over me. But it was short-lived. It wasn't Sam. A girl, no older than 10, stared back at me with wide eyes that shimmered like pools of sorrow. Her hair hung in matted tangles, and her clothes were torn and filthy. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely escaping her cracked lips. Who are you?" I stammered, my instincts screaming at me to run. I felt the shadows creeping closer, sensed the figure lurking just outside my view, biding its time. "I was trapped here," she said, her gaze darting around as if something more sinister lurked in the corners of the room. "They took me, they took her too." "Who took you?" My voice cracked, the weight of the situation crashing down on me. "Do you know where Sam is?" The girl's expression darkened, fear clouding her features. "He's in danger. The thing that took us, it knows what you did. It wants to hurt you through him." The air thickened with unspoken horrors. My mind raced back to the figure, the cruel laugh echoing through the hallways. "What do you mean by what I did?" I demanded, feeling a mix of anger and fear edging my voice. "I haven't done anything." She shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "But you have, everyone does." Somewhere in the darkness, the world began to shift, muffled voices from the hallway mixing with the frantic rhythm of my heartbeat. I didn't want to hear more. I gritted my teeth, refusing to let the fear drown me. "We have to find Sam," I insisted, stepping closer to her. "We'll get out of here together." As if on cue, shadows began to writhe along the floor, growing, converging. I felt a pull, an invitation to surrender to the darkness. The girl gasped, pressing herself against the wall, her eyes wide with terror. "No. You can't let it in," she shrieked. "It's here." The lamp flickered violently, plunging us into darkness for a heartbeat before it reignited, brighter but more unstable. I knew I didn't have time to waste. Sam needed me that I turned, racing back to the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening bang, shaking the room. Panic surged in my chest like icy fingers wrapping around my throat. "Let me out!" I screamed, pounding on the wood. The girl's hand reached out, gripping my wrist tightly. "You must trust me," she pleaded. "Before it's too late." I hesitated, weighing my options, but the looming shadow crept closer, whispering my regrets and fears. I couldn't falter now. This wasn't just about me, it was about Sam. "Show me how to get out. Please." The girl nodded, her eyes reflecting a desperate determination. "Follow me." "But we can't let it get to you." The sound of scraping echoed in the hallway, like nails on a chalkboard. Panic surged again, the air crackling with energy. With one last glance at the door that had imprisoned us, I turned and followed her deeper into the shadows, my heart pounding as I wondered what horrors lay ahead and what I would have to confront. Would I have the strength to face the past that haunted me so? And in that moment, as we dashed away from what I feared most, I realized, the true battle was only just beginning. What awaited us next? I followed the girl through the dark, the air thick with unease. Each step felt like a negotiation with fate, as if an unseen force were weighing my every move. The hallway twisted and turned, shadows flickering at the edges of my vision. I couldn't shake the sensation that something was watching, and dread gnawed at my insides. "Where are we going?" I whispered, trying to suppress the tremble in my voice. "To the back," she replied urgently, her eyes darting around. "To find the door out. We have to hurry." As we moved, the walls seemed to close in, the shadows whispering secrets I dared not listen to. I wanted to grab her hand, pull her close, keep her safe, but her grip was resolute, guiding me through the oppressive gloom. I had to trust her. "Why didn't you tell me more about what's chasing us?" I asked, breathless with fear and adrenaline, her shoulders tensed. "I can't, it's too scary. You won't believe me." "Try me," I pressed. She hesitated, caught in a moment of vulnerability. "It takes people's thoughts and fears and uses them against them. It feeds on guilt. It shows you what you're afraid of the most." I felt a chill creep down my spine. Images of my past flooded my mind, mistakes I'd made, people I'd hurt. "What does it want from me?" "It wants to twist your heart to make you think you have no chance to save Sam," she said, eyes wide. "And then it will take you too." My blood ran cold at her words. I stumbled, grasping the edge of an old, peeling doorframe to steady myself. This was much more than a child's game or a mere haunting. The stakes were fate itself. Suddenly, the flickering light above us went dark. Silence engulfed the hallway. A suffocating stillness settled in, broken only by my ragged breathing. "Go." The girl's voice cut through the darkness like a lifeline, pulling me back from the void. "Don't let it win." I pushed forward, my pulse pounding in my ears. In that moment, the air shifted. A distinct presence filled the hall, heavy and oppressive. A shiver raced down my spine, and I felt the unmistakable weight of eyes on me. Is it here?" I choked out, glancing back towards the echoes of sinister whispers that stirred around us. The suffocating presence seemed to close in, hungry and relentless. "Yes," she hissed, tugging me along as the light from the lamp returned for one last flicker. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of what lay just beyond our reach, an enormous, shadowy figure, dark and distorted, eyes glowing with an otherworldly hunger. I clenched my fists, muscles tensing. I would not let it win. Not again. "Keep going. We can't stop now." With each step, I felt the shadows ripple into haze, and the girl's urgency propelled me like a jolt of electricity. We dodged through an archway and into what looked like a cramped storage space filled with dust-covered furniture. The scent of decay hung in the air. A door stood at the far end, etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly. "That's it. That's our way out," she cried, her voice a rising note of hope. Just then, a low growl rumbled from behind us, a sound that turned my stomach to ice. The shadows coiled, twisting into the shape of the looming figure. "Run!" I yelled, breaking into a sprint toward the door. The pounding of my heart echoed in my ears, a frantic rhythm urging me on as the oppressive weight of the entity closed in behind us. In those final, desperate moments, I reached for the doorknob, praying that it would grant us freedom. But as my fingers brushed the cold metal, I suddenly felt a sharp stab of fear. A whisper of doubt trickled into my mind, just as the girl's voice cried out, "It's going to get us." What if she was right? As I turned back, the darkness surged forward, faster than I could comprehend, devouring the precious light behind us. Would I have the courage to face it down? Time slipped away from me, and with it, the chance to escape. But as the darkness poured in, I realized we were caught in a chase for something far greater than our lives, an escape from our own demons. This wasn't just about physical survival anymore, but about facing the shadows of our past. Who would be the first to break? I grasped the handle, heart hammering like a drum in a funeral procession, a pulse of fear flooding my body. The shadows clawed at the edges of my vision, the breath of the dark pressing against my back like a cold specter. I could feel it, whatever haunted us, closing in, hungry and eager. "Open the door!" the girl shouted, her voice tinged with desperation. I twisted the knob, but it wouldn't budge. It felt cursed, like the grip of the darkness had solidified around it. Panic surged through me. What if we were trapped? What if this cursed circumstance swallowed us whole? A primal instinct kicked in, and I pulled harder. "Come on," I urged. "Help me push." She rushed up beside me, her small hands gripping the door. Together, we shoved with every ounce of strength. But it felt like running against a brick wall. The air trembled with a sinister energy, warping around us. Then, like a thunderclap, the growl erupted again, deep and guttural, echoing in the confines of our makeshift refuge. The shadows condensed behind me, swirling like angry hornets. I instinctively turned, dread pooling in my stomach. The figure emerged, a chaos of darkness, revealing the distorted face that reflected 1,000 fears I had thought I had buried. It lunged forward, its breath a putrid miasma that sent me stumbling back. My mind raced, stricken with the weight of my regrets. "Focus!" the girl yelled, snapping me back, and I realized I couldn't give in to this thing. Not now. Not ever. With one last surge of determination, I heaved the door. It creaked and groaned, a reluctant soldier surrendering to our insistence. It swung open, revealing a blinding light, a stark contrast to the terror. "Go!" I shouted, shoving the girl through the door without a moment's hesitation. I rushed in after her, feeling the pull of the shadow's claw at my heels. We stumbled into what looked like a vast corridor, the oppressive darkness replaced by multicolored lights that danced along its edges. My eyes widened, trying to process the sudden change. It felt unreal. But there was no time for awe. "Which way?" I gasped, catching my breath as the air stirred with an electric current. It felt like a portal, but to where? "Down that way." She pointed, eyes wide with urgency. I sprinted down the corridor, the lights flickering like a heartbeat around us, pulsing with our adrenaline. It felt like we were running towards something, or away from something, maybe both at once. Then the shadows began to seep in from the walls, swirling angrily, trying to reclaim what they had lost. My heart raced as tendrils of darkness reached for us. How could something so oppressive be so persistent? "Don't look back," the girl shouted, her voice threading through the chaos. I forced myself to focus ahead. As we turned a corner, the corridor twisted like a snake, plunging us deeper into this otherworldly maze. I felt that familiar icy dread creeping back in, a reminder of the uncertainty we were grappling with. Without warning, the floor beneath us began to tremble. Cracks splintered through the ground, pulsing with a light that seemed to breathe in tandem with the shadows. I looked at her, panic etched in her features. "What is happening?" The walls shuddered, and just as I thought the ground would swallow us whole, it shifted. The vibrant colors flickered and dimmed, revealing a tapestry of old memories entwined in the fabric of the corridor. Each moment looked like snapshots of pain, regrets, and hopes, all disjointed yet relevant. "Wait!" I shouted as the truth struck me like a lightning bolt. "This corridor. It shows our past, our demons." The girl's eyes widened. "We need to confront them. Otherwise, we can't escape." Could I truly do that? But before I could grapple with my doubts, the shadows surged again, thick and wild, plunging into the light, twisting into horrifying shapes. They howled and gnashed with anger, not just at us, but at the very essence of our existence. In that moment, I realized running wasn't enough. I needed to confront my fears, to own every part of my past. I turned to her, feeling the weight of the world settling on my shoulders. "We can't run forever. We need to face this together. Are you ready?" Her gaze steadied on mine, determination glimmering through the fear. The darkness closed in tighter, and as it did, I heard the whispers again, louder, clearer. They beckoned like a siren song, twisting their way into my thoughts, an abyss of dread clawing at my mind. But even as the shadows surged, I knew, if we didn't confront the truth together, we would be consumed. This wasn't just a fight for our lives, it was a battle for our very souls. Could I muster the strength to face my demons, or would they consume me? The corridor narrowed, and as we moved deeper, I felt as if I stood on the knife's edge, one step away from salvation or oblivion. Which would it be? The moment hung heavy in the air, a fragile truce between us and the oncoming darkness. I could feel the heat of the shadows pressing against us, their whispers clawing at the corners of my mind. This was a battleground. But for what? That uncertainty hung around my throat like a noose. "Let us do this," I whispered to the girl, and her resolve fueled me. I could feel her determination, warming the chill in the air that threatened to blanket us in fear. We stepped deeper into the corridor. The lights flickered in chaotic rhythms, revealing images that seeped out from the walls, moments that carried the weight of our failures and the light of our unfulfilled dreams. There it was, my childhood home, the cracks in the walls mirroring my own fractured memories. I felt the sting of loss as I saw glimpses of my family laughing, arguing, then fading away into silence. "Stay with me," I urged, glancing back at her. Her eyes reflected a kaleidoscope of emotions, fear, yet a spark of hope. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted from the shadows ahead. It was a child's voice, familiar and haunting. My heart clenched, recognizing it as my own from a time long since buried. "Don't. Please." I heard my younger self cry out, a voice dripping with desperation. "No." I shouted, desperate to drown out the shame that flooded my senses. "It's not real. It can't hurt us." Yet, the corridor twisted, morphing in response to my denial. The walls pulsed, and with each beat, my younger self's cries grew louder, echoing off the surfaces like shrapnel. "This is a manifestation of your fear," the girl yelled, her tone urgent. "You have to face it." The ground shook, and the visions intensified. I saw the very moment my father walked away, shattering the last shred of my childhood innocence. A sob threatened to escape as regret washed over me, pressing in like iron hands. "Focus." The girl's voice snapped me back to the present. "You have the power to change this." Her words ignited a flicker of defiance within me. If this corridor showed my past, then it also had to hold the key to reclaiming it. I closed my eyes for a moment, pulling deep from the reservoir of my strength. "Enough," I shouted, feeling the air crackle with my boldness. "You do not define me. I will not be chained by your echoes anymore." The shadows writhed, but I stepped forward, pushing against the darkness. With each word, I felt the weight lift, the air growing lighter, as if I could breathe again. I had to confront my demons, every painful moment, no matter how much they cramped my chest. Suddenly, everything shifted again. The images blurred and reformed, but instead of sorrow, I began to see flickers of resolution. Faces illuminated, moments of love, flickering hopes, and hard-won victories. "Keep going. The girl urged, her face illuminated by a radiant glow, as if she were my beacon of clarity. I could see my past enemies slowly morph into allies, remnants of strength I had long forgotten. "We stand together," I whispered, locking eyes with her again. "Let us face this storm together." As we pressed on, the dark thrummed around us, less oppressive now, almost like it was hesitant in our combined presence. But out of the corner of my eye, I caught a movement. A deeper shadow lingered, watching us, patient and ominous, more twisted than before. It was not retreating, it was gathering strength. "And who might you be?" I challenged, pushing all my anger and fear into my voice, ready for the next wave. It slithered forward, the air growing viscous, thickening like blood. The shadows breathed, and I heard a voice deep, cold, carved from stone. "I am what you fear most, and I will not let you go." My resolve shook. The darkness was alive, intent on tearing us apart. How could we fight something so vast, so insatiable? A fresh wave of fear washed over me, growing louder, drowning out any remnants of hope. Would this be the true test of our courage? All I knew was we couldn't falter. Or it would be the end. "Together, always together," I repeated, although my heart raced with dread. And just when I thought we had embarked on a path toward redemption, the shadow lunged forward, forcing the truth of my fears back into the spotlight. Could we weather this storm, or was it already too late? The shadow lunged, its darkness swallowing every sliver of light around us. My heart thundered in my chest. The air felt electric, crackling with tension. I barely had time to process what was happening when the specter loomed closer, its shape morphing into a twisted reflection of my past. "Face it," the girl shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "It's your own fear that brought it here." Each pulse of the darkness brought with it echoes of my failures. I recoiled, but I couldn't look away. It took the shape of the moments that haunted me, the nights spent alone, chasing shadows I couldn't outrun. Faces I had wronged twisted in agony, their eyes reflecting a betrayal I couldn't shake. "Stop!" I yelled, desperation clawing at my throat. "You don't control me." What I did. The entity deepened its growl, a gravelly voice that reverberated inside my skull. "Your guilt is palpable. It surrounds you, consumes you. You are nothing without it." With a surge of adrenaline, I clenched my fists. A flicker of hope ignited within me, igniting the shadows. "No!" I shouted defiantly. "I am not my mistakes." The girl stepped forward, her presence a bright flame against the encroaching darkness. "Focus on the light. Remember the good. The people who stood by you." Pictures flashed before my eyes, friends who had come through for me, moments of laughter carved into my mind like trophies. The love my mother had poured into our home, the warmth of her smile, the late-night talks that held me together. "I am loved," I repeated, the mantra igniting a fire in my gut. "I am worthy. I can move forward." The darkness shrieked, a horrible sound that churned my insides, but I kept yelling, forcing my thoughts into the fray. "You can't hold me back anymore." My voice vibrated with power, echoing deeper. "You're just a shadow of my past." With every word, the shadow wavered. I felt the girl's hand squeeze mine, a lifeline against the tempest. Together, we surged forward, drawing energy from hope, from faith in each other. The apparition faltered, flickering like a candle in the wind. But just as I believed it might collapse, it lunged again, faster than before, morphing into something far more sinister. This form was larger, its eyes glowing with malice, a reflection of every regret I had ever felt, magnified to the breaking point. "Your heart is filled with shame. I will consume you whole." But I wouldn't let it. The echoes of my past were rising to meet me, not as chains, but as reminders of strength. Turning toward the girl, I locked my eyes with hers. "We need to remind it who we are. Now," she cried. Together, we thrust our arms out, channeling everything we had, every laugh, every moment of triumph, every shred of kindness we had shared with others. A wave of light erupted from us, pushing against the shadow like a sun breaking through a storm. "Feel the love. I bellowed. It's stronger than fear. The darkness screamed, a twisted sound that echoed hauntingly in the corridor, but we pressed on, pouring our light into it. It staggered, reeled from the impact, before beginning to disintegrate. The shadows melted as if beneath a purifying fire. But as the heaviness lifted, I caught a glimpse of something even darker lurking beneath the chaos, a deeper truth wreathed in shadows, something waiting, eager, and patient. The realization struck with chilling clarity. This wasn't over. What now? The girl gasped, her breath quickening. I could only stare into the gaping maw of the abyss that threatened to swallow us whole. Our fight had only just begun. What would we uncover amidst this ever-present terror? The ground trembled beneath us, sending tremors of fear racing through my veins. The air around us felt thick, laden with dread. I turned back to the girl, her face reflecting the growing panic in my chest. We can't just stand here, I said, swallowing hard against the lump in my throat. Whatever that is, it's still here. We need to find a way to confront it. Look! She shouted, pointing into the dark. Something's changing. Ahead, the swirling shadows began to coalesce into a vague form. It writhed and twisted, gathering strength, its eyes flickering like dying embers. I could feel the pull of despair and anguish trying to wind its way back into my mind. It was as if every regret I had ever held close was whispering to me, reminding me of my failures, my insecurities. No, I pressed my palms to my temples, fighting back. I won't let it in. The girl stepped beside me, her determination fortifying my resolve. Remember the light, she urged, her voice soothing amidst the chaos. The love, the strength. It's with you. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Images washed over me, tender moments with friends, laughter echoing in the air, my mother's voice soft and reassuring. I could feel the warmth of their support wrapping around me, a barrier against the approaching darkness. Maybe we can reach it, I whispered, my mind racing. Maybe we can use the connection we have. What do you mean? She asked, glancing from me to the shadow. Every experience, every connection we've made, they're a part of who we are. If we can summon that energy. My voice trailed off as a plan began to form. I straightened, a sudden surge of courage igniting inside me. We need to share our light. Not just between us, but with everyone we know. We can gather their memories and channel them together. The girl nodded fervently, her eyes sparking with renewed hope. Yes. If we can summon everyone we care for, we can fight this. We won't be alone. I focused, reaching deep within. Think of someone special. Picture their face. As I breathed, a warmth spread from my heart to my fingertips. I envisioned my friends, their laughter ringing in my ears. The girl was doing the same, her face brightening with every thought. I felt the energy building around us, a swirling connection binding our souls together. The shadow loomed larger, its growl echoing like thunder. You think you can escape me? No. We shouted in unison, directing our thoughts outward. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who loves us. Against your darkness, our light will shine brighter. A radiant glow erupted from us, spilling forth like a tidal wave, expanding in all directions. Colors whirled together, forming a prism of warmth and kindness that pushed back the shadow inch by inch, but just before the darkness collapsed, it hissed an angry, suffocating sound that sent chills racing down my spine. You cannot escape your past. You will never be free. I stumbled back, the abysmal roar shaking me to the core. What if it's right? I stumbled over the words, fear creeping into my thoughts. What if this isn't enough? But the girl gripped my hand tightly, her eyes fierce as she replied, then we fight harder. Together. We surged forward again, pouring our thoughts, our love, our collective memories into the light. The wave crashed against the shadow, flooding it with warmth, filling the gaps in its darkness, yet, the shadow shifted, bulging outward, a new form coalescing into something more potent and terrifying. What is happening? I gasped, watching the transformation unfold. I don't know. The girl shouted back, her resolve never wavering. But we can't back down now. The shadow morphed into a familiar, nightmarish figure, its eyes glinting with an unspeakable hunger. The mirror of my darkest self. Every fear, every moment of shame coalescing before me, and I was paralyzed, felt raw and exposed. Face your truth. It taunted, its voice a sickening echo. You'll never outrun me. I inhaled sharply, staring into its eyes, realizing the battle was far from over. The girl squeezed my hand tighter, a powerful tether. Don't let it in, she urged, her voice cutting through my haze. But then a horrifying thought crossed my mind. What if it's right? What if it has all the power? The deeper shadows shifted ominously, ready to strike, while the specter of my fears loomed ever closer, hungry for defeat. Could we really push past this darkness? What could we lose if we failed? I took a deep breath, sensing the encroaching treachery. Would our light withstand the darkness beneath the surface, or would it spiral out of control, pulling us both in? The shadow loomed large, a figure that had consumed my every regret. It towered, swallowing the light, yet something ignited within me. Realization dawned: this creature thrived on my helplessness, a manifestation of my past mistakes. My breath hitched, but I gripped the girl's hand tighter, the warmth radiating between us anchoring my resolve. We control our story, I said, voice rough but steady. Not you. I took a step forward, emboldened. Every moment of shame, every instance of guilt surged behind me. Friends who had always believed in me, a mother who stuck by my side, whispers of laughter shared in times of joy. I could feel their strength creating an invisible shield, an army of memories standing firm against shadowed intimidation. The figure snarled, its face twisting into a grotesque caricature of what I feared most: my past. It reeked of despair, but as I gathered my strength, my heart pounded fierce and true. You don't define who I am, I shouted, launching forward, pushing back against the tide of darkness. Remember your light. The girl cried, her voice spiraling up like a call to battle. I closed my eyes and drew from the memories the summer days, the friends who stood by me, moments of hope shining against my darker narratives. Every scar tells my story. I own it all. With each assertion, the light pulsed brighter, piercing through the darkness like a beacon of defiance. The shadow writhed, fighting against the brightness, shrieking in agony. The air shimmered as if each word I spoke vibrated with ancient power, the echoes of laughter, tears, love, and loss intertwined in an unbreakable chorus. They spiraled, merging and igniting an inferno of radiant light. The dark figure halted, its monstrous forms fracturing at the seams. I stepped closer, fueled by the remnants of my past, not as chains holding me back but as wings lifting me forward. I reached out to the girl beside me, embedding her memories into the light we shared. She smiled, her strength woven into ours like a tapestry of resilience. Together, we surged against the shadow. You won, take us. We yelled in unison, the combined force of our voices shattering the grotesque visage of fear before us. In a moment of blinding brightness, the shadow let out a final, thunderous wail, the sound reverberating through the corridor. It erupted as our light permeated, flooding the cracks with warmth, washing the darkness away in a cascade of vibrant color that melted the shadows into nothingness. Then silence hung in the air. The corridor softened, the fierce grip of fear lifting. I blinked, staring into the space that had moments ago terraced us into despair. Is it done? I asked, heartbeat thrumming in my ears, uncertainty still lingering in the remnants of the quiet. The girl turned to me, a radiant smile of triumph warming her features. We did it. We faced the truth. Her laughter rang like a melody, brightening the dimly lit corridor around us. Suddenly, the walls glimmered, shifting, revealing a pathway leading toward a bright horizon. A sense of calm washed over me, and I turned to her, understanding blooming between us. Regardless of where our paths had taken us, we emerged as allies, having faced our fears. Let us get our loved ones, I said, eyes brightening with newfound hope. Together, we'll step into the light. As we walked toward the opening, memories of our struggles faded. We stepped forward into freedom, ready to share our journey. The warmth of the embrace of reality washed over me, a reminder that our past shaped us, but it would never define our future. Hand in hand, we ventured into the light, eyes fixed forward, and there stood Sam, watching, eyes wide with disbelief and joy. The reunion was bittersweet, filled with relief and love. He rushed into my arms, clinging tighter than ever. "Dad!" he exclaimed, voice trembling as if he was afraid I'd slip away again. "I'm here, buddy," I said, my voice thick with emotion. As he pulled back, searching my eyes, relief and recognition flooded both our features. No longer would he see a ghost but a father ready to fight. For him, to embrace the chaos and the light. "Whatever battles we face, we'll do it together," I promised, gripping his small shoulders. Sam nodded, eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and strength beyond his years. In that moment, the shadows faded away. We had escaped but, more importantly, we had triumphed. The echoes of laughter, joy, and love harmonized around us, and as we stepped forward into the new dawn, I couldn't help but feel that no darkness could ever dim the light of our reunited hearts. As the first rays of sunlight streamed through, illuminating our path, I turned to the girl. "Thank you for your help," I said sincerely. She smiled, placing a finger to her lips as if to remind me of secrets shared. "Remember, you carry the light in your heart. Always." And with that, she shimmered, blurring into the morning, but her spirit remained a reminder that no battle is ever fought alone. This was my moment to cherish, to celebrate, and to share with the world. We had faced our darkest fears and emerged not just survivors, but warriors of light. Now, I turn to you, my incredible audience. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who you know need to see this amazing conclusion. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. Your participation makes all the difference. Join us on this journey, and together, let's bring more light into the world.